Morning, committee, and we'll call our meeting to order. First item we have on the agenda today is, are there any bill introductions? Seeing none, we'll move on to approval of minutes from February 11th, 15th, 16th, 18th, and 21st. Senator Clays.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move approval of minutes for February 11th, 15th, 16th, 18th, and 21st.
We have a second by Senator Fagg. Any questions on the minutes or changes? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we'll move on to our budget reports. First, we'll have the Human Services with Senator McGinn, Department of Children and Families. Senator McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe I'll start with the Department of Children and Families. And I'm hoping what they emailed me is what I marked up and is what you have on your colored sheets. So the agency requests for 22 expenditures of $1.1 billion, including $365.4 million SGF. This is an all funds increase of $335 million, or 42% above the amount approved. This increase is largely attributable to the increased federal funding made available to the COVID-19 pandemic for assistance programs such as TANF, pandemic funds, low energy assistance, and low income water programs. Because of those dollars, it was a decrease, SGF of $500,247. And then below the estimate, but primarily attributable to a decrease in the CAPERS employment contribution rates, and an expenditure that was inadvertently reported twice or appropriated twice, which was Hope Ranch, and they made that adjustment. You'll notice that there's an increase of FTEs, and that's due to several funded pandemic or positions that will be deleted when the funds are expended. The governor recommends 2022 expenditures of $1.1 billion, including $348 in SGF. This is a decrease below the agency's 22 estimates due to Human Services caseload estimates. And then in October of 21, the Human Services consensus caseloads estimate for 22 was a decrease of $1.9 million for federal funds for TANF assistance, and a decrease of $16.5 million, including $17 million for foster care, being below the prior estimate. The decrease in TANF cash assistance estimates primarily attributable to the availability of federal COVID-19 funds. And then there was a decrease in the foster care program, which is attributed to the reappropriated SGF money in 21. The subcommittee concurs with the governor's budget with the following recommendations. Basically, for 2022, the request is to go ahead and move forward with the post-audit committee. This was supported by the interim committee that worked last fall. I think I explained last week or so about the bifurcated system and the lack of payments being paid on time. There is a new contractor, but we would just like for post-audit to look into that. So since that was pretty straightforward, I will make a motion to approve 2022 for Department of Children and Families.
I have a motion. I have a second by Senator Clays. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
Moving on to 2023, agency requests expenditures of $979 million, including $371 in SGF. This is an all funds decrease of $145 million, approximately 13% below the estimate. The decrease is attributable to federal dollars due to COVID-19 funding. The governor recommends 2023 expenditures of $972 million, including $367 million SGF. This is an all funds decrease below the agency's 23 requests, and the decrease is primarily attributable to adopting the Human Services consensus caseloads and not recommending all of the agency's enhancement requests. In October 21, the Human Services consensus caseloads estimate was a decrease of 2.3 million federal funds for TANF assistance, and an increase of 500,000, 1 million being SGF for foster care from the prior estimate. The increase in foster care is due to the anticipated fluctuation in contract expenditures based on changing, I can't say that word. How do you say that word? Acuity? Anyway, I guess you guys are following along with me real well. Services in need of care. Moving on to the next page, the governor funds 18 million, including 10 million SGF enhancements, and recommends 4 agencies, 11 enhancement requests in full, which includes protection specialists, salary increases of 3.7 million, Kansas Management Information System replacement, Amazon Connect virtual call center, and Family First prevention services increase. In addition, the governor recommends partial acceptance of 3 additional enhancement requests, which include Family First prevention services, only grants of 1.4 million SGF, independent living subsidy for foster youth, and capital improvements budget. Subcommittee concurs with the governor's budget with the following changes. Add 10 million SGF for workforce recruitment and retention incentives for children placing agencies in licensed facility, including qualified resident treatment programs for 23. Add 158,000 SGF and 2 FTEs positions for communication access services within the Kansas Commission of Deaf and Hard of Hearing. Add language requiring the agency to provide Cerebral Palsy Institute of Kansas with 125,000 from existing resources for the providing durable medical equipment for individuals with disability in the state of Kansas, and review at omnibus the potential for adding $500,000 of SGF for Safe Families for Children, Kansas, for the purpose of expanding the program in 23. And I have a question on number 3, 4, on cerebral palsy. That's the add language requiring. Okay, but it doesn't say for the purpose of continuing to do their work with So on item 3, it's the language had to do with continuing their contract with Cerebral Palsy Institute for doing the medical equipment because of their past relationship, and it seems to work out for them. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll stand for questions.
Are there any questions? Senator Petty.
No, I just want to thank I do have a question, but I want to thank the chairman for the work that she's done, as well as subcommittee. I know I've received some more information, I think some others have, concerning, and this would not really change 3, but going along with equipment, and it seems that, I received from Complex Rehab Technology about that we have some issues in Kansas concerning with Medicaid reimbursement. So I'm wondering if we could, since it also, I don't want to change 3, but if we could before we do our final budget, see if we can get any more information from what's the difference between our Medicaid reimbursement for equipment, complex rehab technology equipment for, it wouldn't just be cerebral palsy, anyone who needs that type of children ages birth to 21, and how we compare with other states.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator McGinn.
Senator Petty did approach me about that, and so did the entities a day or two ago. I just don't have enough good information, but what I was hoping is that we could get with the analysts and try to dig in a little deeper on that information and just have it as a topic when we put the mega bill together next week. Not necessarily endorsing it, we just need to understand that a little better.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Senator Hawk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On item 4, was that one of the enhancements that they had that wasn't recommended originally on the Safe Families for Children?
I believe it's because the governor only partially funded it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Other questions? Seeing none, Senator McGinn, if you'd like to make a motion.
A motion to adopt the 2023 Department of Children and Families budget.
I have a second by Senator Clays. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we'll have the Kansas Department of Aging and Disability Services. Senator McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have quite a few recommendations on this, and not to just belabor this, I'm going to highlight a few of these bullets here on the agency's request. Again, that first bullet had to do with the COVID-19 pandemic relief funds, and they received federal money from the ARPA and other relief, as well as the increase in the FMAT rate. And so some of these adjustments that they have requested is, one, to make the adjustment because they're not receiving it, and two, that they'll have to read that last. The agency viewed the increase as an opportunity to study some issues surrounding the waivers, as well as provide some relief to providers, and they submitted their plan to the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services and waiting for the approval to draw down that additional federal funds. And then also they delayed implementation of some programs in 2020, that begin in 2022, and that includes the installation of infrastructure on electronic health record systems at 4 of the hospitals of the acute psychiatric beds for the Hayes youth. Also, they were delayed on the building Osawatomie due to labor issues associated with that, but those will be standing up here this year. A revised estimate also includes 325 FTE positions, which is an increase of 29.5 positions above the approved amount in 2021. The governor recommends $2.3 billion, including $830 million SGF. It's a decrease of $78 million below the agency's 2022 revised estimate. Since some of the items that the governor recommended had to do with Human Services Caseload, adopts the fall 2021 Human Service Caseload estimate, and this is a decrease in $89 million, including $66 million in SGF below the agency's estimate. And this is due to lower than anticipated Medicaid eligible population that was originally estimated in spring of '21. The governor's 24/7 plan includes $9.6 million from the ARPA funding to allow for the salary increases for nurse staff at the state hospital. Crisis intervention centers includes $2 million SGF for the implementation of crisis intervention centers. Currently, the state has several crisis stabilization centers which provide services to individuals on voluntary basis who are experiencing a mental health crisis. The funding aims to provide KDAD's funding to establish new classification in the state to allow involuntary patients similar services within the community. These additional services aim to reduce the number of involuntary admissions to the state hospital. Governor also includes 325 FTE, which is the same for 2022. Subcommittee concurs with the governor's recommendation on 2022. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I will move 2022 budget of the Department of Aging and Disability Services.
We have a motion. We have a second by Senator Clays. Questions? Senator Rowley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the governor's 24/7 pay plan, we talk about the $9.6 million from the ARPA funds. These salary increases are temporary? Is that what I hear?
Senator McGinn.
I believe it's my understanding that, yes, she used federal dollars to increase these areas because we were having a hard time, keeping people. And that I think, and the chair can correct me, but it'll be up to us as to whether we continue.
I believe that's the way it'll work.
Excuse me. Go ahead.
And this item is in several budgets, depending on that need, because we just didn't have enough people to staff.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Please proceed to 23.
We'll continue with 2023. The agency requested $2.3 billion, including $903 million SGF, and this is a decrease of $19.4 million below the agency's 22 estimate. Some of the significant items have to do with decreasing the COVID-19 pandemic relief expenditures. As the agency anticipates the conclusion of the pandemic, the request is related to expenditure decreases. Such as the agency's 23 request reflects a decrease of $10.3 million in COVID-19 pandemic-related transactions. Return to the regular FMAP, so that will have an impact, and it reflects an increase in their budget of $87.8 million SGF for the increased utilization of state funds for HCBS waiver services. Enhancements related to the Medicaid services, the agency requests approximately $34.7 million, which is $13.8 million for SGF for several enhancements related to Medicaid services. These enhancements were primarily centered around standardizing reimbursement rates between the waivers and the increasing funds to address the waiver wait list. There is more detailed information in request 1 of the enhancements section. Enhancements related to HCBS IDD waiver, the agency requested $21.5 million, including $9 million SGF for several enhancements related to the IDD waiver. These centered around the raising the reimbursement rates for specialized nursing services to match the TA waiver in funding order to bring individuals off the wait list and onto the waiver. Again, more information is in request 2 in the enhancement section. The enhancements related to the oversight of facilities, they requested $14.7 million, $9 million SGF for several enhancements related to the agency's oversight of adult care services. These enhancements are generally related to increasing agency staff to survey these facilities, as well as additional funding to supplement its statutory background checks requirements. And again, in request 3 in the enhancement section. The revised estimate includes 341 FTE, which is an increase of 16 positions above 22. And it's due to the agency's enhanced request for additional staffing. Governor recommends $2.4 million, including $970 million in SGF. This is an increase of $20 million. Including $67 million SGF above 23 request. And the significant items have to do with the continuation of initiatives. The governor's recommendation includes $28 million SGF to continue funding associated with salary increase. And then this is back to what your question was. for the 24/7 facility plan, as well as funding crisis intervention centers. Governor recommends expenditures for the 24/7 plan to be funded in the SGF monies rather than the federal money. Expansion of mental health services, Governor recommended includes 19.3 million SGF in additional funding for mental health services. This includes initiatives to reduce the burden on the state hospitals through expanded funding for mobile competency evaluations and expansion of regional hospital beds to provide inpatient mental health services. I don't know who it is that keeps bothering me. Let's see. So the expansion of the mental health services competency evaluations. Shift in funding for mental health expenditures. Governor's recommendation includes shifting the source approximately 13.4 million for mental health related expenditures from special revenue funds to the SGF. These shifts will move the expenditures from the State Highway Fund and the Children's Initiative Fund. Decreases associated with the enhancements, the governor also includes a decrease of 35.3 million, including 17 million SGF associated with the governor not recommending adoption of several of the agency's requests. Governor's recommendation also includes 330 FTE positions, which is a decrease of 11 positions below the agency's request of 2023. This decrease is due to a transfer of Can Care Ombudsman, boy, it's Friday, to the Department of Administration and the partial adoption of agency requests for additional survey for credentialing staff. Senate recommendation. The subcommittee concurs with the governor's recommendation with following adjustments. Add 3.5 million of SGF for additional nutritional program expenditures for FY 2023. Add 4.8 million SGF for certified community behavioral health clinics, implementation mini grants of FY 2023. Add language to make the 15 million for regional bed expansion contingent on the State Finance Council approval with the requirement that the Secretary of Aging and Disabilities report on the progress for location of a facility to State Finance Council, as well as language for the agency to work with Sedgwick County to study the need for regional mental health beds within the county and identify the impact of the staffing of opening up a 50-bed facility, what the impact would be, have on Sedgwick County's Health and Human Services sector for 2023. The cost of the study shall be shared by the agency and the county. The agency would provide 80% of the cost and the county would provide 20%. Review at Omnibus, the possible addition of 7.7 million, including 3.1 million SGF, the addition of language to increase reimbursement for the T1000 Medicaid code for specialized nursing care from $43 per hour to $47 per hour for 2023. Review at Omnibus, a possible addition of 146 million, including 58 million SGF to provide 30% reimbursement rate increase other than the T1000 Medicaid code for specialized nursing care for providers of home and community-based services, intellectual and developmental disability waiver services for 23. Review at Omnibus, the possible addition of 65 million, including 26 million SGF to provide for full rebase of nursing home facility daily Medicaid rate for 23. This amount is the difference between the amount to fully rebase the daily rate and the 3% increase already included in the governor's recommendation for 23. The full rebase amount is based on calendar year 19, 20, and 21 cost data. However, the data for the calendar 21 is an estimate. Review at Omnibus, the possible addition of 500,000 all SGF for Foster Adopt Connect to offer behavioral interventionalists services for children and behavioral and emotional issues for 23. Review at omnibus, the possible addition of 12.5 million, including 5 million SGF, to provide a 4% reimbursement rate increase for providers, Medicaid behavioral health services for 23. Review at omnibus, the possible addition of 2 million all SGF to assist with staffing at psychiatric residential treatment facilities for 23. Review at omnibus, funding the 988 behavioral crisis hotline and status of the 2020 House Bill 2281 to establish the means of funding the hotline through a fee through telephone providers. Oh, we did a lot that day. I do have some other information, just in case anybody's interested, that staff provided. I think there's been a question about the nursing home facility closures. And do we have extra copies, just in case they might want them? Do you know, Matthew? Okay, we can email it. But just to give you an idea, in 19, 6 nursing home facilities closed. In 26, nursing homes closed. In 21, 8 nursing homes closed. So I know that was an item of interest for some of the committee folks. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I stand with for questions.
Questions? Senator Kirshen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have any questions, but I did have a motion I'd like to make this time concerning the budget. And that motion, I have it written out.
Okay.
I move that the items that were recommended to be considered at omnibus in the KDAD's budget be added to the mega budget. And that's it.
Senator McGinn.
I'll see what the committee thinks of that. You have a motion, you need a second, I guess, for discussion.
Second by Senator Fagg. Discussion, Senator Saltram.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On item number 3, I know Senator McGinn has been involved in that for quite some time.
Just a second. We're on the motion. If you want to discuss that and.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
I just. Nope,
we're talking about the motion from Senator Kirshen. Did you have a question on that?
Mr. Chairman,
Senator McGinn.
it seems like in the orderly fashion, perhaps, is if the maker of the motion would just withdraw for a moment, and so that we can have the discussion on the items first.
Okay, is that okay, Senator?
Yeah, I just.
Yes, nope, that's fine. Senator Fagg, okay on the withdrawal side. We'll withdraw the motion for right now and go to questions on the list ahead of that. Senator Saltram.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll repeat my comments in regard to item number 3 in further correspondence and discussions with some persons in regard to this particular topic. I have also been involved in trying to advance that issue in South Central Kansas for quite some time. I was quite frustrated here in the last couple of years that we couldn't seem to get a solid plan put together. I do know that it takes funding. It's necessary to address the study and related needs in getting this thing accomplished. But in visiting with a number of people, I think that number of 15 million may be subject to further interpretation. So with that, I would like to make sure we specifically discuss that at the latest date possible.
Senator McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate Senator Saltram bringing this up. Those dollars have to do, I believe, and the secretary's here and she can correct me if I'm wrong, that's more of operational dollars if the county would build. And I think that we do need to make an adjustment in that number, because what we're really looking for is a study. And I would be fine, I mean, in light of finding out about Senator Kirshen's motion, I would be fine leaving this one to omnibus and getting more information and adjusting this further. So, I'm just sharing that, but I don't. Well,
Senator Kirshen, would you be okay on that item number 3, not putting that in the mega at this time and
Putting it to omnibus.
put it off to omnibus? Yes.
Just number 3?
Yes.
Yeah, that,
I just think we just need some more information, and I agree with.
Okay, okay, so we'll leave that one till omnibus. Other questions on the list? Senator Hawk?
Yes, I'm not on this subcommittee, and I appreciate the report. Could you indicate where we are addressing the need in terms of the IDD programs that we have located in our various communities? I know I've gotten several emails wanting to increase, and I read something about the House putting some 26, 27 million into their budget. Where is that in here? Is that one of these subcommittee recommendations? Is it in the governor's rec, or was that an enhancement?
Senator McGinn?
It's number 5, I believe, and
Okay.
the need is, did you want me to speak to the need?
No, I was just looking at the nursing care piece, and that's more than that. So that's clear to me now. No, that's what I wanted to see, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Other questions for the list? Senator Petty?
This is just a question, I mean, this is concerning number 10, just the way it's stated. Does it say 2020? Because I don't know why that status of 2020 is, why that's stated that way. It says review of omnibus funding for the 988 behavioral crisis hotline and the status of 2020 HB 2281.
Well,
Senator
it
McGinn.
is 2281.
I'm sorry, I just
following
heard it's a
that, and they're
typo. It's
just
a
talking
typo.
about the year.
It's a typo. The 2020 is a typo. Yeah.
Typo? Okay. I thought maybe it was just the fact that it was originated then, and, okay. Which it couldn't be, it'd be dead by now, so.
Other questions on the list? Seeing none, Senator Kirshen?
okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The motion is, I move that the items that were recommended to be considered at omnibus in the KDAD's budget be added to the mega budget. So they're both in there,
Except item 3.
and including number 3.
And number 3 be
3,
discussed at omnibus.
okay.
Excluding number 3, okay. And we have a second by Senator Fagg. Okay, any other questions on it? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Are there any other questions or discussion on the 2023 budget? Senator McGinn, would you like to make a motion?
What, we're missing something maybe? Matthew brought to my attention on the 988, it perhaps needs to also stay at omnibus because we're tracking a bill.
Pardon me?
On the 988 item.
Okay.
It needs to stay, I believe, at omnibus because we're tracking a bill.
Okay, would you make a motion for that?
Let's see, that's already passed. So I'll make a motion that we include number 10 at omnibus as well as waiting for the outcome of House Bill 2281.
Motion is second by Senator Clays. Any questions on leaving that one till omnibus? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Any other questions? Senator McGinn, if you'd like to make your motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that we approve the Department Department for Aging and Disability Services budget for 2023.
As amended.
As amended, thank you.
Second by Senator Clays. Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Senator McGinn. Next, we'll move on to the assessment and taxation. Senator Clays, we'll start out with the Board of Appeals.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Give you an opportunity to pull out your yellow sheets, perhaps goldenrod. Clearing the room. All right. We'll start out with the agency estimate and then go to the governor's recommendation. You'll notice that these are all very similar and there are no changes by the Assessment and Taxation Committee, so I'll do 22 and 23 before standing for questions. We're at $2,711,000 is SGF. It's a all funds increase of $43,000. That's primarily due to an agency supplemental request to fund 6 months of salary for a new FTE position. It is an IT employee. The governor recommends revised expenditures of $2 million as well. There is a small decrease there that you're going to see that is due to a increase in salary and wages expenditures compared to the 22 estimate. The committee concurred with the governor. Moving on to 23, you'll notice about a $20,000 difference in these. The agency requesting expenditures of roughly $2,852,000 is SGF this time. It is an increase of $36,000, an SGF increase of $141,000. That is to fund a full year salary and benefits of that additional FTE we just discussed. In addition to funding the additional FTE position, the agency is requesting a decrease of $100,000 from the Code of Filing Fee Fund and an increase of $100,000 SGF. This reverses a 22 change recommended by the governor and approved by the legislature as a part of the agency's reduced resources package. The governor recommends expenditures of $2,873,000 SGF. That's the increase of $20,000 that I just pointed out, and that is due to increased salary and benefits for the governor's recommendation to modify the agency's enhancement request for a new FTE from a technology support consultant 2 to a IT manager position. And with that, I will stand for questions on 22 and 23 for the Board of Tax Appeals.
Any questions on 22, 23? Seeing none, Senator, if you'd like to make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the approval of the 22-23 budget for the Board of Tax Appeals.
We have a second by Senator Fagg. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we'll move on to the Kansas Department of Revenue. Senator Clays.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Agency revised estimate is $107.6 million. 14.8 is SGF. It's an all funds decrease of $115,000. The agency added $2.7 million in salaries and wages expenditures by reducing their shrinkage rate. Shrinkage rate reduction partially offset by deleting funding associated with vacant positions. The agency also reduced a transfer to the Special County Mineral Production Tax Fund of $968,000. The governor recommended 107.8, 15.1 million as SGF. The recommendation is an increase of $287,000 above the 22 agency revised. The increase is attributable to administrative expenditures related to the governor's plan to eliminate the food sales tax. 22 and 23 are quite similar here, so I'm going to go through both and stand for questions. The Senate committee deleted that expenditure related to the elimination of the food sales tax, as that's not the law. Moving on to 23, the agency requested $107 million, 14.8 SGF. That is a decrease of $686,000, an SGF increase of $490. The agency reduced the transfer to the Special County Mineral Production Tax Fund of $316,000, reduced IT contracting services by $220,000, and reduced their estimate for outside counsel by $250,000. The governor recommended $108.6 million, including 15.3 SGF. The governor's recommendation is an all funds increase of $1.7 million. An SGF increase of $500,000. The increase is attributable to those expenditures from the SB 13 Taxpayer Notification Fund that were inadvertently omitted. That was $1.2 million, and administrative expenses related to the governor's plan to eliminate the food sales tax, which is at $525,000. Additionally, the recommendation includes transfer of $1 million from SGF to the Division of Vehicles Modernization Fund and a elimination of the $4 surcharge. The Senate committee concurred with the governor and did have that same notation to remove the FTE positions to eliminate the food sales tax at this time. And with that, I will stand for questions on the FY '22 and '23 budget for the Kansas Department of Revenue.
Questions? Senator Petty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I heard the mention of why the subcommittee deleted the 287,000 and plus in '22 and the 525,000 plus in '23, and it was said due to the fact that that legislation hasn't passed. However, I did notice that there is an inclusion of that elimination of that $4 surcharge, and I don't believe that legislation has passed either.
Right. Yeah, the committee just felt that that was a very important thing to include in the budget.
So, but looking at these other two, I mean, the item 1 in '22 and the item 1 in '23, I'm wondering why we couldn't put that off and couldn't just put that off to look at again at at omnibus.
Senator Clay.
I mean, that's fine.
So can I make that as a motion?
If you want to make the motion.
Okay, I would like to make a motion that item number 1 of the Senate Committee's recommendations on a budget '22 and item number 1 on the budget of 2023 be looked at in the omnibus budget.
We have a motion, a second by Senator Clays. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Any other questions? Seeing none, Senator Clays.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee, you may already be aware that the department sent tax bills in the tens of millions of dollars to streaming services providers in an attempt to coerce them into collecting the sales tax on their services going forward. If the department is successful in this venture, streaming services will be taxed in Kansas without a change in the law. In fact, a law that would have authorized such a tax failed in this legislature. And for that reason, and to keep this as an item highlighted for conference with a difference from the House, I move to remove $17.99 from the FY '22 and '23 budget for the Department of Revenue.
We have a motion and a second by Senator Fagg. Questions or discussion? Senator Hawk.
Just a question, why we have that magical $17.99. I'm sure there's a good reason. I'd like to hear that. And it could be a reduction in my streaming service bill.
Senator Clays.
$17.99 may correlate to the monthly fee for a Netflix subscription, but yes.
Oops, I think I'm getting a better deal than that. Maybe I shouldn't vote for this. Thank you.
Other questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. Senator Clays.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the FY '22 and '23 budget for the Kansas Department of Revenue at the committee recommendation.
As amended?
At the committee recommendation.
As recommended, okay. Second by Senator Clays. Any questions?
I can't second my own motion.
That's fine. Yeah. I second by Senator Fagg. Yeah, sorry. Looking at you and shake my head at Senator Fagg. Motion by Senator Clay, second by Senator Fagg. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Committee, I think that concludes our work for today. Hang on one second. Yeah. Before we go, staff is going to pass out a list of things that we had put on for looking at omnibus and other questions that we had. We're not going to do anything with this today, but you'll have it for the weekend to look over, and Monday when we meet again, we will start with our list and work on them. Anything else, Amy?
Just the stuff that you added today.
Okay. Okay, now, what we added today will be on the new version Monday. So this gets you up to yesterday and doesn't have the change for today. Any questions? Seeing none? Thank you, committee, and I'd like to thank Senator McGinn and Senator Clays for your report outs today. And I'd like to thank everyone on the committee for your work. This is our last report out, so this concludes the subcommittees, and thank you all. Y'all did a lot of extra work, and I appreciate it. Thank you. With that, we are adjourned.